But none of that would have been possible without what was happening underground. In 2009, a team of geologists drilling core samples in Mauritania uncovered something unexpected. At depths of 15 to 20 meters below the current desert floor, they found fossilized root structures, massive root systems. These were not remnants of shrubs or small trees. The roots belonged to plants that had anchored themselves deeper than any modern tree. Today, the largest living root system belongs to the Pando aspen colony in Utah, covering over 40 hectares and weighing around 6,000 tons. The Sahara roots make Pando look like a houseplant. Individual networks beneath the sandspan areas larger than 500 hectares, and those are only fragments. The full extent of what existed 6,000 years ago is still being mapped. Analysis revealed something striking. The density, thickness of taproots, and depth of penetration all pointed to plants designed for long-term water storage and drought resistance. These were not shallow grasses or temporary vegetation. They built root systems reaching groundwater 20 meters down, storing enough moisture to survive dry seasons. Carbon dating placed these roots between 7,000 and 5,000 years old, capturing the moment just before the Sahara began its shift from green to desert. Roots this size do not grow in isolation. They require stable rainfall, nutrient-rich soil, and a climate supporting continuous growth over millennia. The Sahara had all of that until it did not, around 5,500 years ago. The monsoon rains that had fed the region for millennia began to weaken. The cause remains debated. Some scientists point to orbital changes in Earth's axis. The slow wobble in rotation that takes roughly 26,000 years, which may have altered the summer sun's position enough to weaken monsoon circulation. Others argue feedback loops triggered by vegetation loss. As plants died, soil lost its ability to retain moisture. Dry soil reflects more sunlight than vegetated ground, increasing surface temperatures and disrupting local rainfall patterns, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of desertification. What is indisputable is what followed. As rainfall decreased, plants began to die. As plants died, soil dried further. As soil dried, more plants died. This was not gradual. It was a feedback loop accelerating every decade. Within a few centuries, the Green Sahara became the desert we know today. Those massive root systems remained underground, fossilized in place, a record of what once existed. Now, here is where this connects to human society. When the Sahara was green, it supported populations larger and more complex than most people realize. Archaeological evidence shows settlements, agriculture, and trade networks thriving for thousands of years. The people were not nomads scraping by. They were sedentary communities, with surplus food production and specialized labor. Excavations in Chad, Niger, and Mali reveal granaries, evidence of wheat and barley cultivation, and the bones of domesticated cattle. These were agricultural societies, with predictable harvests, and enough stability to develop pottery, textiles, and long-distance trade. Shell beads from the Red Sea appear in sites 3,000 kilometers inland. Obsidian from the Ethiopian highlands shows up across central Sahara settlements. This was economic complexity, not subsistence living. Then the rain stopped. Plants died. Soil turned to dust. Every economic system dependent on that ecosystem collapsed. Most history books frame this as environmental change or climate shift, not economic collapse. But what is an economy without the natural systems that sustain it? The Sahara's transformation was not just ecological. It was the disintegration of entire civilizations built on the assumption that the land would always provide. People did not vanish. They migrated south into sub-Saharan Africa, north to the Mediterranean, east toward the Nile. Between 5,000 and 4,000 years ago, this mass movement reshaped Africa and the Middle East. New kingdoms arose along the Nile because refugees brought knowledge, labor, and desperation. Ancient Egypt's rise, often credited to pharaohs or Nile fertility, was also fueled by a climate refugee crisis. As the Sahara dried, Populations concentrated along the remaining reliable water source. The Nile Valley became a pressure cooker of displaced populations competing for limited agricultural land. This competition drove centralized states, irrigation systems, and military hierarchies. Egypt did not rise in spite of the Sahara's collapse, it rose because of it. Conventional economic history often omits this lesson. Ecosystems are not externalities, they are the foundation. When the foundation erodes, everything built on it collapses. The fossilized roots beneath the Sahara are proof. They represent an economic engine that once powered complex societies. When that engine died, so did everything it supported. Fast forward to today. We are watching the same pattern repeat. The Amazon rainforest, producing 20% of the world's oxygen and regulating rainfall across South America, approaches a tipping point. Deforestation has removed so much vegetation that scientists predict collapse within decades if 20 to 25% of forest cover is lost. We are already at 17%. Collapse would devastate agriculture across Brazil, Peru, and Colombia. The forest generates its own weather system. Trees pull moisture from soil, release it into the atmosphere, form clouds, and distribute rain across the basin. Lose the forest, lose the rain, lose the crops, lose the economy. Soy production, beef, timber, coffee, all depend on this system. Brazil supplies 30% of the world's soybeans. A collapse here spikes global food prices. The same feedback loop that killed the Sahara is triggering in the Amazon. Most people will not recognize it as economic collapse until it is too late. The American Midwest faces a parallel threat. The Ogallala Aquifer, supplying water to farms across 8 states, is being drained faster than it can recharge. Water stored over thousands of years is extracted billions of gallons per year. Recharge occurs in inches per decade. Within 30 years, sections of the aquifer will be too depleted for industrial agriculture. Wheat, corn, and cattle production in Kansas, Nebraska, and Texas will contract. Bread prices will spike. Meat production will collapse. International grain markets will destabilize. This is not speculation. It mirrors exactly what happened when the Sahara lost its water. The Aral Sea in Central Asia offers another preview. Once the 4th largest lake, it has shrunk to 10% of its original size after Soviet engineers diverted rivers for cotton irrigation. Cotton boomed temporarily, then the lake dried, fishing collapsed. Salt storms from the exposed lakebed contaminate farmland hundreds of kilometers away. The regional economy imploded. The fossilized roots are not mere curiosity, they are warnings. They show what happens when natural systems economies depend on are pushed past recovery. Collapse does not announce itself. It starts quietly. By the time the system is visibly failing, feedback loops are locked in. Civilizations depending on the Green Sahara could not predict the collapse. They only realized the land was dying when it was too late. Wells ran dry, crops failed. Livestock perished. People walked away, leaving pottery, tools, and roots fossilized under the sand. We do not have that excuse. We have data. We know the Amazon, Ogallala, Aral Sea, Colorado River, Great Barrier Reef, Greenland ice sheet all are at risk. Ecosystems can collapse faster than economies can adapt. Once feedback loops start, reversal is nearly impossible. Yet, economic policy still treats natural systems as infinite resources. Forests valued for timber, rivers for irrigation, soil for crops, aquifers for extraction, but the ecosystems enabling all of that are treated as externalities. GDP ignores topsoil loss, aquifer depletion, and services provided by healthy forests. A country can cut all its forest, sell the timber, and show growth while destroying future water supplies. Natural capital is treated as infinite until it runs out. Then the dependent economy collapses, and everyone acts surprised. The Sahara roots prove otherwise. Ecosystems are the economy. Currency, trade, markets, banking, stock exchanges, abstractions built atop soil, water, and living organisms. When the soil dies, the abstractions die. When abstractions forget that, civilizations perish. The people of the Green Sahara learned this 6,000 years ago. Their root systems remain under the sand, a silent monument to what happens when natural wealth is mistaken for permanence. The next great economic collapse will not be caused by finance, war, or politics. It will be caused by the death of the ecosystems we rely on. Not lack of technology or knowledge, but prioritizing short-term extraction over long-term sustainability. When it happens, people will ask, how did we not see it coming? The answer, we did. We just chose to ignore it. The roots beneath the Sahara are larger than any alive today. Fossilized warnings. Civilizations that depended on them are gone, trade routes buried, cities turned to dust. The roots remain, under the sand, a warning written in dead wood and stone, reminding us that no economy survives the collapse of its supporting ecosystem. Not 6,000 years ago, not today.